I think the worst thing that we can do in talking to kids about sex in this current environment is to give the impression that there's something that we're afraid of. And I understand that impulse. I remember one day when my, at the time, 5-year-old son came in and said, "Dad, how does a boy become a girl?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, there's this little boy who is becoming a girl," and I didn't even think that was possible. And I said, "Where did you hear this?" And he told me it was in the dentist's office. He was sitting there waiting to go see the dentist, and the television was on, and it had a news report of a little boy who was becoming a girl. And my first reaction to that was to want to shelter my son. I didn't want him to have to think through those things right now. But that's not an appropriate Christian response. We have a word to give. And so if we give our children the idea that somehow we're not willing to talk to them about these issues, or that the idea of talking about these things freaks us out, then we're not going to disciple the next generation. I think we need to use age-appropriate language, teach children about what's happening in the culture around us, and more importantly, to give a positive vision of a Christian view of sexuality grounded in the picture of Christ in the church, in the gospel. I think that's really important. The other thing I think is important with children is to make sure that we don't disciple children into a kind of Pharisaism. And that's really easy to do, where we give children the proper moral categories but without gospel mission, so that children can kind of unintentionally come to the place where they're doing exactly what the Pharisee is doing in Jesus' story of the Pharisee and the publican in the temple. "Thank you, Lord, that I'm not like these immoral people in our neighborhood around us." So you have to guard against that constantly, I think.